Today, the whole morning, I was thinking about my late father. He passed away less than 2 years ago, and I've been remembering him today because his spirit comes and help me and support me. And I remember our journey. We took a chance and we moved. We moved 2.5 years ago from the big city to the remote village in mountains. It was at that time the decision that we made because me and my father, and at that time I had only one dog, Rex, we needed a safe place because the situation in my country was really horrible. And I'm not going to talk about that in this video, but I'm going to talk about my father. So having sick, mentally sick father and physically sick from head to toe, he had almost all diseases possible. And he was cancer survivor too. So having so many diseases, having many health complications, and especially suffering from mental health issues and diseases such as Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson disease, and depression. Those diseases made a huge impact not only on my father's life, but on my life. At that time, to move somewhere was a huge plan. It was really difficult to execute. My father at that time needed assistance with everything, with clothing, bathing, taking his food, taking his medications. Simple tasks such as walking also was a challenge because he was fainting all the time due to heart failure. And I remember a couple times we went for a relatively long walks, and all the time my dad lost control of his legs and he just fell down. And due to help from strangers, they helped me to get him up, and somehow we got home. It happened a couple times. It was terrifying to go with him somewhere outside because this fainting could happen anytime, again due to his heart failure. So it was very difficult to stay with him all the time at home, watching him, because he could put an empty pot on the stove and turn the fire on, and without any water, without anything inside the pot. So the pot would get on fire. And because of such danger, I couldn't leave him alone for even 5-10 minutes. It was always nerve-wracking. It was terrifying to leave him alone, and I had nobody who could have helped to watch him because close relatives, they refused to help. They never even called. I was totally alone in that situation with a sick father. So it was a huge challenge when I decided that we all, me, my father, and our dog, Rottweiler Rex, that we all would move to mountains, to safer place. And it was the best decision I could have made at this time. When we moved, my father had to live 1 more year, almost a year, a little less, 11 months. 11 months my father lived in the mountains. And I just want to say that even though there were always people around, I had to hire someone to help me to take care of my dad. However, it always felt like I was just one-on-one with all of these diseases of my dad. And I felt like that's only my responsibilities. And even hired people who were helping, I knew that I had to watch them because they may not know everything and they may not pay attention to details when it came to my dad. And I remember one time I left because I needed some break, I needed to rest a little bit. I left, and two people were taking care of my dad, and they didn't pay attention. He was coming down the stone stairs on the backyard, and he lost control over his body, over his legs, and he fell. He fell down so bad that he had some injuries, including eye injury. And I remember from that point on, in addition to taking so many medications, to going to so many doctors, in addition to all of that, I had to take my dad to the eye doctor for injections inside the injured eye, because without those injections, he could have lost his eyesight. So this was just one example why I couldn't trust no one. And even when I was taking a break, going somewhere, leaving my father with a helper, with a caretaker, I never trusted them because I knew that they don't have skills, they don't have knowledge, and most importantly, they wouldn't care about my father like I would, a daughter. So that was the most challenging time, and it got harder and harder every single day. It was not hard physically, but mostly emotionally, because towards the end of his life, my father became very agitated, very abusive. He sometimes didn't recognize me. He asked my name. He cursed me. He screamed at me. He threatened to break windows, to break door. He wanted to run somewhere, run away. And sometimes he was making fists like this and threatening me, and it got really intense. I was not scared, but I was more confused. I didn't know how to calm him down because medications stopped working on him towards the end. And I was in constant touch with his psychiatrist, with very knowledgeable doctor. And we tried different medications, and all of them stopped working at some point. So his agitation, his irritability became unbearable. He could scream like all night long. He wouldn't stop. And because of that, the situation became so bad that I had to move him in a different place. So I would get some rest and some sleep at night. So I hired someone to watch him at night at a different place. And it was very difficult, but the most important lesson that I've learned, that mental health, it's not a joke, because mental health affects the whole body. So if my dad already had many physical diseases, and he was cancer survivor, he had heart failure, kidney failure, he had eye diseases, he had so many diseases. I wouldn't list here everything because it's not important. What's important, that all physical diseases that he had, they were impacted by his mental state, because he didn't want to get better. He had no desire, due to his depression, he had no desire to recover, to heal, to get better. He didn't want to take medications. I had to put pills inside his mouth almost with force. I had to beg him and say, Dad, please take this medication, please. And every time it was a struggle, because he didn't want to heal. He wanted to die. The most difficult were the last 2 years of his life, but he was sick like that for 16 years. But the last 2 of those 16 years, it was unbearable. He didn't want to get better. I wanted him to get better because I needed him. And Alzheimer's disease, it's not a joke. It's a disease that really terrible to watch. This disease kills brain cells, and person become totally different. Someone you would never recognize again. Especially you would not recognize them as your loved one. There is so much to say, and I'm kind of lost of how to express everything I felt during the last 2 years of my dad's life. Only help from professionals, from psychologists, from coaches, from knowledgeable people who were willing to lend a hand and to share their sympathy, understanding, and compassion. Only that helped me to really live through those difficult times. And honestly, when my dad passed away, I was so relieved. I was so relieved because it was unbearable. It was very difficult. And I know that my father is in a better place. He is no longer suffering. That's the most important thing, because he suffered way too much. My father was very kind and loving person, very caring, and I just really miss him. And I wanted to record this video to say, if you still have your parent or your parents alive, don't take it slightly. Be grateful, because they may not be here with you all the time throughout your whole life. At some point they will be gone, and do everything possible for them when they are still here alive, because this time is so precious, so valuable. I had very close relationship with my father, and I'm talking about the time when he was in his right mind. He was really a great person and someone who taught me a lot. I am super grateful to have him as my father. And I wish one day I meet my father again, and I know this will happen at some point. But until then, I will have loving memories about my dad. He's always in my heart.